And that's J-Trig behind Marcel. There's Caver. And Cavewoman. Alright, so tonight's story is brought to you in part by MistLore.com for some of the history, DPWR.net for the Denis dates, UruArchives.com for the surface history corresponding to the Denis dates, and the Cavernian Calendar Converter, which was written by Brett Middleton of the Fuzzy Physics Institute for converting between Denis and surface time. Tonight's story is from Myst, the Book of Atrus. As I've told these stories, we've learned about life in the cavern. We learned how the Denis came from their proud roots, seeking to shed their pride, yet pride crept back into their lives. We watched it cause the downfall of their great empire. And we watched as a mother and her young son made their way to the surface from the ruins of Denis. A mother, Anna, grieving for the loss of her soulmate, and her son, Gen, angry at his mother for, he believed, leaving his father behind. We learned about Gen's adolescent life, his all-consuming anger towards his mother for what he perceived as her part in the fall of Denis, and in his father's death. Basically, she was the root cause of his world having fallen apart. Instead of being patient, he was impatient, choosing easy paths even though they may not be the correct ones. And where his paths would become blocked, he chose to use brute force to overcome his obstacles, rather than use reason and logic. We learned of his son Atrus, and of Anna's second attempt to raise a good and decent child, teaching him to be observant of his surroundings, even of the bad things that occur as a result of his experiments. Tonight's story opens in the Denis year of 9425, approximately 1769 AD, the year that Napoleon Bonaparte was born, James Watt patented the steam engine, and Daniel Boone first saw the woodlands of present-day Kentucky. Atrus was 14 and still creating experiments. He even created a battery with electricity generated from one of the steam vents of the volcano. Unfortunately, he forgot to include a safety pressure release valve, and the ensuing explosion could have killed him had he not been paying attention. Though Anna's heart came up into her throat at the explosion, she was able to maintain enough calm to ask him what he saw. He saw that his battery was charged. It was later that day when Anna told the young lad about the fate of Denis. She told him of Tiana pleading for and saving Viovis's life. How Viovis's return was the end of Denis, and the end of millennia of life in the cavern, all because of one woman's misjudgment. Each afternoon the two would sit in the shade, and Anna would give young Atrus Denis letters to copy. One particular afternoon she gave him a Denis word to write. After he had finished copying it, he asked her what it meant. She told him that it had no English equivalent. Seeing his confusion, she proceeded to explain that words aren't just words. At the simplest level, a word can be a label. Tree, sand, rock. She told him that we can use other labels to describe what type of tree, sand, or rock. She also told him that on another level, words can also be ideas, such as love, intelligence, and loyalty. Those words in turn need to be defined in several ways. Love, for instance, might be mixed with pride and hope, or with jealousy and fear. Intelligence might refer to the unthinking, instinctive intelligence of an ant, or the deeper, more emotionally rooted intelligence of a man. Loyalty can be the blind loyalty of a soldier to his commander, or the stubborn loyalty of a wife to a man who has wronged her. Atrus grasped what she was saying almost immediately, realizing that there is a farther, more complex level above ideas. Still, he couldn't picture in his head what words on that next level could be. She told him that that particular word had to do with the circulation of the air, wind patterns, and humidity. Though she didn't tell him then, what she gave him to copy was one of the Garo Hevti, the great words, which the Denis used to describe the worlds in their descriptive books, in their ages. It was a full month later, as the full moon approached, that Atrus's life would be forever changed. As he was making his way up the slope of the volcano, he noticed that the summit was wreathed in a brilliant white mist. It roiled, like the steam on the surface of a cooking pot. Out of that swirling vapor, a tall man emerged, wearing a white cloak and dark glasses similar to Atrus's own. With his cloak flowing behind him, the man appeared to be of mythical royalty. "Well, boy, have you no greeting for your father?" Atrus was in shock, as if physically struck. It was Gen. He had returned to the cleft with one purpose in mind. It was not to visit with his mother. It was not to visit with his son. It was to take his son back into the volcano, back into the cavern, back into Denis. Gen needed an able assistant to help him in his research, one with a quick mind, who shared his heritage. Who better than his own son? Of course, Anna objected. Gen had been reckless and impatient in his youth. There was no reason for her to believe that he had changed over the past 14 years. Instead of using reason, Gen chose to verbally attack his mother. He refuted her objections by throwing in her face her actions when he was a child. She wanted to come along to look after Atrus, but Gen said no, reminding her that she had left his education to the guild. Anna was hurt, yet she could say nothing. Gen played on her guilt as perfectly as a concert pianist. And so, in the Denis year of 9425, Atrus left with his father. The two headed into the volcano, where Atrus would learn firsthand about his Denis heritage, and about his own father. Please join us next time as we learn of Atrus' lessons in Denis writing, lessons in Denis heritage, and lessons of his father's true nature. The end. Yes, last week and this week are short. Next week should be a normal length. No problem, Jatrig. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Leap. And thank you all for coming tonight. Yeah, I think the number of story nights that I have missed can be counted on two hands. And that's since 2007. And time to end the story right now.